Welcome to the Stephen Mansfield audio podcast.
This is a special podcast that I'm recording, and I'm doing it in anticipation of a series that I'm going to be giving in October on this all-important topic of building your band of brothers. I'll tell you the details about that in a moment, but right now I want to reemphasize this issue of band of brothers that I consider to be so critical. I don't want anyone to draw the conclusion that I emphasize every man having a band of brothers around him simply and only because I'm concerned about the emotional loneliness of that man. I certainly understand how loneliness haunts souls, both male and female. I don't want anyone I know to be living in loneliness. I know that extreme loneliness can drive us to every kind of destructive behavior, even suicide, as the statistics show us. But it's not primarily about loneliness that I talk about band of brothers with men. I start, of course, absolutely with the idea that a man really cannot become the man he is made to be unless he builds around him or is part of a band of brothers. I'm simply committed to the idea that we don't really see ourselves clearly. We don't know where the failings are. We don't know where our weaknesses are. We don't fully understand how we impact other people. We don't fully know even what we look like. I often use the illustration of somebody handing me 5 or 6 photographs after a party, and I look at the pictures and I think, who is that guy? How did Jabba the Hutt, get in the door of the party? And it turns out to be me from an angle I never see. And it's not so much about weight or whatever. It's mainly just about angles. It's about looks. It's about the way your eyes are cut. It's about the fact that you don't see each other. You don't see yourself other than in the occasional photograph or maybe every day the mirror. Well, if I can't even see myself, how can I help myself be the best I'm made to be? I need men around me who love me, who are not afraid of me, who are invested in me, with whom I can have a lot of fun and rowdiness, but I see regularly enough and am accountable to enough that growth, change, development, increase, and safety occurs. Now, there's no question that my lead issue, my prime objective for urging men to build a band of brothers does have to do with them becoming great men, fulfilling together the great project of great manhood. But it's not just that. There are side benefits that are becoming ever more important in our lives as our culture takes the direction that it is taking. For example, let us say that there is a great economic downturn, which many people are talking about right now. And what more would a man want than 5 or 6 men with whom he can walk, with whom he can share resources, from whom he can get ideas, who can help him in times of trouble? I don't mean just as a matter of money, but counsel, wisdom. You watch my house when I'm gone, I'll watch yours, whatever it might be. You grow tomatoes, I'll grow corn. Of course, those are extreme examples, but to walk together, to help each other, to give wisdom from their different perspective. One guy's a lawyer, another guy's an accountant, another guy runs a maintenance company, or another guy fixes cars, and they have wisdom that the others don't have. The blue-collar guys have wisdom the white-collar guys don't have. The reverse is also true, etc. Everybody's got different skills, different background, different networks. You don't want to walk through crisis of any kind alone, particularly not an economic crisis. Well, let's be even bolder than that. Even though we're trying to be great men, let's say a man goes through a divorce. He doesn't want to do that alone. I've been very open about the fact that I went through an unwanted divorce. And I'll tell you, the thing that made the difference were the band of men who gathered around me, spoke to me, corrected me, challenged me, cheered me on. And I, no arrogance intended, began to rise from that moment and have had a pretty amazing career since that time. Why? Well, because it was God's will. Probably because the only thing I can be patted on the head for is that I, submitted to wiser men, older brothers than I am, older people than I have around me at that time, and I was able to achieve and accomplish with their encouragement and their guidance and through the opportunities that God brought. Well, My point is, I know the hell and the devastation of divorce. You don't want to do it alone. I'm part of a group of men who use this phrase often. They say a man who is self-defined is defined by a fool. We're taking that language, of course, from the old dictum that a guy who is his own doctor has got a fool for a doctor. Well, the point is that if you're self-defined, in other words, if the way you live your life, the way you determine the truths about your life is completely on your own, well, you've got a fool making those definitions because you can't even see yourself clearly enough. You don't even know what you need. You need other people to round you out. Nobody became a great pro football player without coaches, without other guys saying, hey, throw the ball further out, man, get the ball ahead of me. Hey, I'm going to cut to the right, not to the left. Hey, you're taking too long. You're not stepping up in the pocket, or whatever the thing was. On linemen, hey, you don't know your blocking assignments, man. On a sweep, you go left, you pull hard. Whatever the language is in whatever sport. The point is that nobody does it on their own. You look at somebody you might admire currently today in football, Aaron Rodgers, or whoever is running back. Those guys they've had coaches for who knows as much as 20 years. They've got trainers, they've got specialty coaches, speed coaches, strength coaches, moms, dads, pastors, friends, and if they're fortunate, they've got some tough men around them who are on their team who nip at them like dogs in a pack when something needs to be changed. They love them, but they're not afraid to correct them. That's how it has to go. So we won't achieve our best without it. And especially when you're coming out of a divorce, when you're off balance and things are being reset in your life. Well, suppose it's not your marriage. Suppose it's something that one of your children is doing. Suppose one of your children, God forbid, dies. Or suppose one of your children misbehaves horribly and it's court and prison and things of that nature. You're going to need some men around you. You're going to need some men around you to remind you of what you're made to be, what you're called to be, to keep you on balance, to love the rest of your family well, to not become bitter about that child, to love him well, pray for him. You're going to need men. Women need women. I completely believe that. And you may need your wife or your sister or some female acquaintances or friends that you've got through work or what have you. Certainly your sisters in your church or your synagogue or wherever it is that you worship. But the bottom line is you can't walk it alone. A man who is self-defined is defined by a fool. So I'm a big believer in this idea of Band of Brothers, not just because I want you to have somebody to bowl with or, hike with or have a beer during a game with, but I'm a big believer in it because I think that any man can accomplish the greatness he's called to. I do not believe he can do it alone. And I think given where we're going in our society, this is more than just a psychological comfort and a spur on to great manhood. This is also part of the social safety net that we each want to make sure is built into our lives. And by the way, if our times were just perfect and there was no challenge to it, I would be urging a Band of Brothers for the sake of the righteousness that it inculcates in our lives, but also for the sake of the sheer fun. I have more fun with my guys than with anybody I know, and these are life-enriching relationships. Now, why am I saying all this? I'm saying it because as many of you listen to this, you just barely know what I'm talking about. Not picking on you, but some of us have been thinking about this, working on this, scratching it out in our own lives for a lot of years. And I want to help fast track you to this. So starting in just a few days on October the 8th, Thursday night, October the 8th, 2015, I'm going to be conducting a great big old conference call that you can join for about 25 minutes, half an hour. I'm going to be talking about the principles of building a band of brothers, what it looks like, how it works best with men, how you can grow it, how you can turn your current relationships into a band of brothers, what works, what doesn't, etc. And then we're going to throw it open for Q&A and discussion in the back half of that time. I'm doing this because I believe that this is a challenge that every man has got to face. I don't believe that I can do it alone just with newsletters and podcasts. I think I've actually got to get with men, get them on the phone, get them live. And when I can, I'm going to get them in conferences. In fact, I don't dream of big stadium events one day for this great man movement. I dream of gatherings of the clans, gatherings of the Band of Brothers all over the country. In fact, I'm tempted to do events where you can't get in if you're not a member of a Band of Brothers. But first, I need a season of helping men build their Band of Brothers. So would you please check out the links that are that appear with this podcast? Would you go on my social media, at Mansfield Writes on Twitter, Mansfield Writes on Facebook, and find the links. We got them everywhere. They're also with the text that accompanies the location of this podcast on my website, stephenmansfield.tv. And get into this. Even if you come in late, even if you're not hearing this until the 10th of October, you'll still have an ability to listen to the recording of the 8th of October time together on the phone, and also have a few more down the road. Now, this is going to cost a little bit. We've got staff, people who have to do things, people have to run things, a lot of advertising, things like that. It's going to cost about as much as a few pizzas and some soft drinks for your family one evening. But I'll tell you what, it will change your life and have just potential to really make a massive difference. There's something happening among men in this generation. I'm thrilled to be one of the many guys who are helping to shape this and lead this. And one of the themes that I most think I'm called to emphasize is this theme of building your band of brothers. Starting on Thursday night, the 8th, running for every Thursday night, the rest of October. Come on, we're only talking about 4 nights, about an hour on the phone, guys, and maybe some reading and some interacting on Facebook other than that. And it can change your life. It can teach you what you need to know. It can challenge you to build the band of brothers that will help you build great manhood in your life.
Stephen Mansfield is a New York Times best-selling author, a popular speaker, and a frequent faith and culture commentator on CNN, Fox, and the Huffington Post. His groundbreaking books on faith and society include The Faith of George W. Bush, The Search for God in Guinness, Mansfield's Book of Manly Men, and The Miracle of the Kurds. You can learn more about Stephen at stephenmansfield.tv and greatman.us, and connect with him on Facebook and on Twitter under the name Mansfield Writes. The Stephen Mansfield podcast is produced by Isaac Darnell, who also wrote, performed, and produced the Rockin' Podcast theme song. Be sure to rate the Stephen Mansfield podcast in the iTunes Store. This is a Chartwell Literary Group production.